Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So this video marks week 1 of a new challenge I set for myself for the month of March 2021, where I decided to paint 1 watercolor painting per day for 30 days. So for day 1, I decided to go with something really simple, and my main focus for this one was to practice my blending techniques. I'm still fairly new to watercolor, so I figured what better way to get comfortable with a medium than to force myself to paint every single day with it. So I didn't quite know where to start. I have been taking some online tutorials from Watercolor Art. She's an incredible watercolor artist, and I'll link her channel below. So I decided to do one of her tutorials here, which was really super simple. It was just 2 layers of wet on wet paint. The first layer was this kind of rainbow colored sky. I actually ended up doing two layers of that because, as you know, watercolor dries a lot lighter than it appears when you lay it down. And then the next layer of paint was just pure black, and it was some cacti. And here I'm just using a dotting tool with some white gouache paint to put in some little dots to represent stars, and I painted in a little crescent moon. So this was really fun, and it was a great way to warm up for the month. So for day 2, I decided to paint this wolf howling, which I thought would be fairly easy because I do paint a lot of pet portraits and wildlife art in oils and acrylics, but it is quite different. I did start out with the wet and wet technique by painting in the background first in order to make that lighter, more transparent fur actually look like fur against the background. This is something that I don't normally do with oils and acrylics. The other major difference is that I do have to plan ahead for my lights and leave those areas of plain paper exposed, or just go over them with a really light wash of paint. When I paint with oil and acrylic, it's pretty much the opposite. It's like I'm sculpting with my oil and acrylic paint, and I start with the darks and gradually work my way up to the lights. This particular day, I did overwork this painting. I think because I really hadn't gotten a grasp on the huge differences between watercolors and other media, and I did learn a lot, and I'm glad that I took the time to learn from it, but it was really difficult. It definitely did not turn out the way that I had hoped and planned, but I did learn some stuff, so it's not a complete loss. So this brings us to day number 3, and I decided to go with something that I wouldn't normally paint, which is a shiny beetle, this pretty little rainbow beetle. I did follow another one of Emily Olsen's tutorials. I didn't want to set up any sort of strict rules with myself for this month. I just wanted to make sure that, number 1, I sat down to paint every day. Number 2, I actually finished a painting every day. And number 3, I got in that practice and learned some lessons and became more comfortable with watercolors. So I didn't really say, okay, well, this month I'm only going to paint from life, or I'm only going to paint from reference photos that I took or whatnot. I instead decided to paint from a variety of sources, including a couple of online tutorials. So it's up to you if you want to do this challenge. It's up to you, where you get your reference materials from and how you decide that you want to practice. I think that the most important thing is that you just make it a daily habit. Okay, so this brings us to day number 4, and I did learn a couple of things about myself on this day. Number 1, I really do enjoy painting shiny objects like bottles. Number 2, I apparently am very impatient. So something about watercolors that I didn't really respect before was the fact that you need to let the first layers dry if you are attempting to paint a straight line or hard edges. This is something that I definitely learned the hard way when I was trying to paint in the bottle here. You can see that the paint started blooming because the blue background, I didn't wait for it to dry. So I definitely learned my lesson, and I actually started using a blow dryer during this painting and from this day forward. This was a really cool picture. I found it, I think I found this one either on Pixabay or Unsplash. They're both sites that you can get copyright-free photos that are free to use, and you can make your artwork from them. So I love both of these sites. So I'll link them below if you want to give them a try. Okay, so for day 5, I decided to give fur another go since day 2 didn't go so well. So this time I decided to use my dog Blitz as a model. So I followed him around and took a few pictures until I got one that I liked. I wanted the main focus to be his eyes, but I wanted there to be plenty of fur in the photo so that I could get lots of practice. If you follow me at all on social media, you'll know that eyes are my favorite thing in the world to paint, so I couldn't resist. I am posting daily during this challenge on my Instagram and Facebook, so if you'd like to see my paintings so far for the month, you can check them out. I will link my social media below. I would love to know if this challenge inspires any of you to start your own daily challenge. It doesn't have to be every day. If you don't have time, you can paint a couple of times a week or once a week. Just make a commitment to yourself to put in the work. And if you do decide to start your own challenge, make sure you tag me. I'd love to see your progress, and I'd love to see what you're working on. So day 6, I had set out to paint something completely different than this. I can't even remember what it was, but I completely destroyed the painting. I had worked all day and my mind was pretty numb and I just wasn't into it. I remember I once took an online class, I think with Emily Olson last year, when I had originally dabbled in watercolors, and I quite enjoyed painting chili peppers. I hadn't really started up with watercolor again until really this challenge. I had just tried it off and on. So I thought, well, let's go back to painting something that I know I enjoy and was fairly easy and see what happens. I think the most challenging part of this one was making the shadow underneath it believable. So the shadow in this case has a darker value and a lighter value, and they kind of blend together really softly. So getting them to blend together in that way was the biggest challenge. I did add some splashes of paint just to kind of give my own twist to the piece, and this is what it looks like. Okay, day 7. I was feeling pretty happy at this point. I don't think I had ever painted for 7 days straight. I felt pretty accomplished. And for this day, I think I worked on this day too. So I wanted to go for something fairly simple, but still kind of cute and nice to look at. So I went for an avocado. I've never painted an avocado in watercolors before, but I have painted one in acrylic paint in the past and also in gouache. So I really like painting them. I like working with the different greens and making the center of the pit look shiny and interesting. So yeah, this is what I came up with. Thanks for joining me for week 1 of my 30 watercolor paintings in 30 days challenge. I hope that you'll stick around because next week I'll be uploading week 2. And don't forget to check me out on social media if you would like to see what I'm posting during this challenge on a daily basis. Happy painting, guys. Have a great weekend.